Ireland is an independent country located in northwestern Europe, a tiny with ever-changing scenery. There is a long tradition of music and melody coming from the landscape of Ireland. Today, Irish music is known worldwide for its dancing and traditional instruments including the flute, the whistle, the accordion, the fiddle, the button drum, and the concertina. The music has traveled around the world, and this time the destination is Hanoi.
Was fun. Hello guys, how you
Hello.
doing?
Good, thank you.
Thank you very much for your performance. Can we please walk up here? Wow, so how did you even do that? I tried my best to add some more festivities, but I failed miserably. Can you show me the basics of it?
Yeah, the basics of it. Well, again, both Niamh and I were dancing in heavy shoes. The majority of the sound comes from the tip, like that.
Cool.
And after that, then it's just a lot of hard work.
Speaking of hard work, how long did it take you to master it?
Well, I started when I was 3 years of age, and I'm 24 now, so I've been at it quite a long time.
It's going to take a long time for me to get used to it. Anyway, so with no further ado, welcome to a new edition of Talk Vietnam. And in this week's episode, we get to talk to the guys from Culters, which is the largest group dedicated to promoting and preserving traditional Irish music. And in this show, we sit down and talk with them about their passion for music, as well as their experience here in Vietnam. Thank you for being with us today. Now, first of all, welcome to Vietnam. How has the country been treating you guys so far? You first, Kian.
We've really found an amazing experience so far. Obviously very, very different to where we're from, Ireland, culturally, and I suppose, you know, there's lots of things that have struck us. The food, the traffic. It's all been quite an experience so far.
So was it quite what you expected, Claire?
I'm not sure I expected it to be as crazy as it is, but it seems like, yeah, even to sit in the car for us is a big novelty and watch what's going on the streets. It's very interesting. It's quite different to home.
So Niamh, of all the things you've experienced about the Vietnamese culture, what has impressed you the most?
Impressed me. We had a great visit yesterday to the Musicology Institute, and it was great to see instruments which are traditional Vietnamese instruments, and some quite similar to our own in some ways, but then very different instruments at the same time. So it was great to try them out and kind of swap instruments for a while and get to actually play them.
Okay, Mark, my man. So, did you know anything about Vietnam prior to this visit? What was your imagination of Vietnam?
Well, I suppose Vietnam being halfway across the world, we wouldn't know too much about it, but coming here, we did our research, we looked it up. Coming, we knew the people would be very hospitable, and they have been so far. I think all of us would agree that wherever we've gone, we've been greeted with a big, friendly smile and a welcome from the people of Vietnam. So it's great to be here, and we're enjoying what we're doing so far anyways.
So, some of the audiences here in Vietnam are very curious about your exotic name. Can you help me pronounce it? How do you do that?
The group we're all members of is Culters Ceoltóirí, and it's a very, very large organisation in Ireland that's associated with the promotion of Irish music, song and dance. Comhaltas Ceoltóirí, it translates, I suppose, the closest translation in Irish into English would be the Association of Irish Musicians.
Kian Cairns on flute, Mark Nestor on the Boran drum, Claire Walsh on the fiddle, Niamh Sullivan on piano and button accordion. These are the sounds of blowing, strumming, picking,
plucking and thumping from Irish traditional instruments played by artisans of Comtos Coterie Asian. They provided the music show with a pulsating beat that turns listeners into dancers with ease.
Theo mình cảm thấy là cái âm nhạc này nó không thể giải thích bằng lời được, mà nó là mình nghe thấy và cảm thấy là trong lòng nó luôn tự động, nó thấy vui rồi, nên là nghe nhạc này là chỉ muốn nhảy thôi, chỉ muốn hát và để vui vẻ thôi.
Thực sự thì đây không phải là lần đầu tiên em nghe nhạc của Ireland. Nó là một cái gì đó nó khiến em cảm thấy rất là hưng phấn ấy. Em có thể nhảy theo nhạc mà theo một cách nào đấy thì cái âm nhạc mà họ truyền đến nó rất là vui tai và làm cho mọi người cảm thấy rất thoải mái.
In Irish, Comtos Coterie Asian means gathering of Irish musicians. The group is a cultural movement with hundreds of local branches around the world involved in the preservation and promotion of Irish traditional music.
Irish music is a real important part of our culture, and it's really worth preserving. It's worth building organisations and structures that will help to develop the music and to keep it alive, and that it will progress as well. Because we preserve the music, but we're also growing all the time. There are new tunes being composed, new songs. We have collaborations with different genres of music.
The preservation efforts of traditional music not only connect the Irish people in many countries, but also brings emotional moments to those who have visited the country.
Âm nhạc truyền thống của Ireland thì luôn là rất là đặc biệt vì nó mang hết cả tinh thần và văn hóa của người Ireland. Đối với mình thì những cái ngày như thế này nó rất là quan trọng, tại vì là những cái ngày là một cái cơ hội để mình nhớ lại những ngày tháng ở Ireland. Và hôm nay có rất nhiều những bạn là du học sinh đã từng học ở Ireland và cũng đến đây.
It's wonderful. I mean, it's a great source of pride. It's part of our national heritage, our identity, and absolutely it really sort of elevates our sense of like pride. And you really appreciate these things when you come far away from home.
Irish traditional music continues to win new listeners. Between musical schools, concerts and pub sessions, there's no shortage of these spirited tunes in Ireland.
So could you give us a panoramic view, like an overview of how popular Irish music is these days?
Yeah, Irish music in Ireland has really gone from strength to strength. And I suppose Comtos Coterie really has had a huge role to play in that success. In Ireland now we have many young people learning traditional Irish music, and that has actually spread to all around the world, especially to Britain and America. So it's really has become very vibrant, the whole scene.
Well, it's now on 4 continents. We have 420 branches worldwide.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's gone from strength to strength, and I mean it's getting bigger and bigger every day with more and more people from other countries wanting to learn Irish music.
How can such a traditional genre of music that has had a long history gain its popularity and relevance to the modern day context of music?
I suppose there are lots of ways that it has become more popular. There have been, big productions, such as I think Riverdance would have, brought Irish music and dance to the world, which you're probably familiar with that over here as well. And then there are a lot of groups now who are performing professionally all around the world. Groups like the Chieftains and Dervish and Alton, they've become very popular, and it's become a very popular genre of music, I suppose.
Now I want to talk about your personal story, musical stories. So you, Kian, you're a 5th generation member of your family of musicians. What does it mean for you to carry on this tradition?
I suppose it was growing up as a child. It was something that myself and my sister were exposed to a lot. Yeah, my mother's family in particular were very involved in Irish traditional music, and they all played musical instruments. And it's great, I suppose, to be continuing something that's kind of important to your family and something that your family are very proud of. And you know, hopefully we'll pass it on to our children as well.
Okay, Claire and Niamh, you guys are both educators of traditional Irish music as well. Why did you choose the genre instead of the other genres that were considered more popular, like pop, during your time back in school?
Well, I was the youngest of 5 children. Neither of my parents played, but I was the youngest of 5, so I was just marched in, you know, after the rest of them, and there wasn't really a choice. This is what you do, you're Irish and you're going to carry it on. But I suppose I've had my own children now, and I feel it's very important that they carry on the tradition, that they are strong in their own culture.
So how did it start for you?
Well, my parents are both interested in Irish music, and even though neither of them played, they were very interested in dancing. So set dancing and Irish dancing, and of course we need music for that. So I grew up listening to that, and from going to Céilís, which would be a lot of people dancing together, I would have seen musicians playing, and that's when I decided I'd like to start playing then as well as dancing.
All right. So Mark, what's your story? How did you go about learning how to dance?
Well, as Claire alluded to back home, I'd say it's kind of the done thing between Irish music and dancing. You're sent out as a young child. Like there was 8 in my family, 5 boys and 3 girls, and we were all sent to dancing lessons. Unfortunately, there are only 2 of us left dancing, my sister and I. The rest of them, they didn't enjoy it. I absolutely loved it. From the very first moment I went into the dancing class, I wanted to do nothing else, and after that then it was just practice, 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 and I haven't looked back.
All right. So I know you're quite the dancer. Would you mind showing us some of your moves and how I can actually go about, you know, doing what you do?
Not a bother. That's perfect, yep. Give it a go.
All right, cool.
Yep.
So all of you must have had like some really interesting and memorable experiences with traditional Irish music, the genre that you all chose. Can you share with us some of these stories?
I suppose the travel is really good. The travel part is really nice. We've all travelled, but we're seeing parts of the world we would never see, only we're playing and promoting traditional Irish music. I've been to Beijing and New York, and you get to see a nice bit of the world promoting what you do. So I think everyone has the same story.
I think as well the friends we make through music, like we all know each other through music, and it just brings you close to so many people that you might never meet otherwise.
Yeah, it's true.
Coming to Vietnam this time, our Irish musicians had a chance to meet the traditional music artists from the Institute of Musicology to exchange their knowledge and their passion about music together. So let's check out what excitement they got up to in this encounter.
If Ireland has the bodhrán drum, Vietnam has the bronze drum. Artists from Cohortas got to experience traditional Vietnamese instruments like the moon lute and monochord while visiting the Musicology Institute. Having performed with artists from around the world, this was the first time the Cohortas members have met traditional Vietnamese musicians.
Cái điệu nhảy của các bạn nó rất là đặc trưng cho cái dân tộc Ireland. Những cái tiếng đàn và những tiếng đàn violon và những cái nhạc cụ của các bạn cũng mang dân tộc, mang đậm những bản sắc dân tộc của dân tộc Ireland, và chúng tôi rất là vui mừng và khi mà được giao lưu văn hóa giữa hai nước.
After performing Vietnamese and Irish music, the artists introduced their instruments. Claire's first notes on the Vietnamese two-string fiddle were not like what she was used to on stage. The musicians played the flute and danced together.
Với những người nghệ sĩ chúng tôi thì âm nhạc lại là ngôn ngữ chung. Chính vì vậy mà qua âm nhạc chúng tôi lại tìm thấy rất nhiều những điểm giống nhau. Cho nên tôi thấy các bạn ấy rất là gần gũi.
Speaking of, having no boundaries when it comes to music, how did you communicate with the Vietnamese artists, the traditional Vietnamese artists? You guys didn't speak the same language. How did you talk to each other?
Well, we had an interpreter there from the Irish Embassy, which was obviously very helpful as well. And it was really a great experience, because we visited the Musicology Museum, and it kind of exposed us to all the different. We didn't realise that there are up to 53 ethnic minorities. We were amazed with that. And that they all have their own kind of indigenous music and instruments and I suppose styles, because that is something similar we have in Ireland. Even though Ireland is a very small country and the population is approximately 4.5 million or that. Irish music, there are different styles around the country. We call them regional styles. So we kind of, I suppose, could make that connection there between the Vietnamese music yesterday, and that was something that was kind of striking for us yesterday.
So were there any sounds in particular that you guys enjoyed? Was there anything in particular about Vietnamese music that you enjoyed from yesterday?
It really told a story, I suppose. We heard 3 different pieces of music. One from northern Vietnam, one from the south, and one from central Vietnam. And what struck me, I suppose, was the tune from central Vietnam, which was representing the harvest, and just different sounds created through instruments like the horn really told the story of the harvest through the music.
And like Irish music, there was great energy. You could actually, you could feel the artists kind of, working together to produce a great piece of music. There was no, it wasn't kind of, there was no solo players within it. It was more like a group, which is kind of different in a way from Irish music. So we were kind of fascinated with that.
And again, once they started playing like the Irish music, our feet started tapping. So I found it very interesting. Anyways, I found it similar enough to our own music. It was energetic, it was lively, and you'd want to get up and dance to it nearly.
Yeah.
Okay, so as the instrumentalist, was there any particular instrument that struck you the most yesterday?
I really liked the horn. That was really nice. That's something we don't see in Ireland. And I also think, well, it was fun to try their instruments, but they were also very enthusiastic. I'm sure I played the violin, so I'm sure they've seen that lots. And the flute was fairly similar to what they have, wasn't it?
One of the ladies played the flute as well, so I tried hers, and she tried mine.
I think they all made a run for Niamh. Niamh plays the concertina, so I don't think they had seen that before.
We saw a 2-string fiddle, which was very interesting. So in some ways it's similar to the fiddle or the violin at home, but there's 2 strings on it instead of 4, and it's played kind of the opposite way to how we would play it. But the strings are the same, and it would be played with a bow as well. So it was nice to try that, to get the opportunity to try it out.
There was a lot of percussion as well, a lot of different percussion instruments. And in Irish music, we have some percussion, like you've seen us use the bowron there. That's a very traditional Irish percussion instrument. But we wouldn't have the same variety of percussion that the Vietnamese used. And they used a lot of tuned percussion. The northern music might have used tuned a type of drum. And we'd say there were about 7 musicians, and they each had it was tuned to a specific pitch. And they created, a fantastic piece of music with just 7 different drums, so that was really unusual to us and kind of something that we're not kind of used to, I suppose. So.
Speaking of drums, we also have our own drum too, and I know that you guys actually practiced a piece related to this special drum, Chong Gum. Would you guys want to have a go and give us a taste?
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3.
guys are great. I don't know how I went, but you guys were awesome. I'm absolutely surprised that you managed to pull it all together. How long did it take you guys to put this piece together?
Well, to be very honest, we've been having a whirlwind trip so far. So I'd say we've been practicing for all of about maybe 20 minutes nearly. But we're very used to, I suppose Irish music is an oral tradition. And initially, when we were given the piece, we were given the notation, the staff notation. Could we hear the melody and kind of get at the structure? The structure of the piece itself is slightly different. I suppose Irish music is it's usually organised into, maybe 2 parts in a tune, and there are usually about 8 bars in each part. So that was a little bit different. So.
Definitely, Irish music has got a long history and it has evolved over time. Can you tell us more about this evolution? Like, how much has it changed? What's been changed, and what's still there? Can you tell us a little bit more?
I suppose what has carried through is definitely the actual melodies and the art form itself. Some of the tunes that we played there are, very, very old. They've been in the tradition a long time. What has changed, I suppose, there is more of a structure now, to the teaching and learning of music. Because traditionally, people would have learned music. It was, a tradition that would have happened in the cottages. If you can imagine, back in the late 19th century, early 20th century, there were, it was a lot of Ireland was very, very poor, and there was a lot of poverty, and Irish music, the music was something that they shared in the traditional kind of the home setting, and that's where it would have been passed down from older musicians to younger musicians.
Yeah. I also think that the cultus that we all work for, they years ago there wasn't a lot of money. Instruments were hard to buy and hard to get. And I suppose most branches now in cultus, they would rent a lot of the instruments now. So you can rent a concertina. A lot of the more expensive instruments, you can rent a harp. You can rent uilleann pipes. So it makes it much more feasible to come and join cultus. Yeah, absolutely. So the door is open now, to everyone. It is,
that would come about by a group of local people getting together, and they would fundraise in some way to create an instrument bank, and they'd buy these instruments. So, volunteerism is very, very central to the role of, I suppose, cultus is made up of up to 50,000 volunteers.
Yeah.
Was down the glen one Easter morn, to a city fair rode I. For those who died that Easter tide, in the springtime of the year, and the world did gaze in deep amaze at those fearless men but few, who bore the fight that freedom's light might shine through the foggy dew.
So, like many other countries around the world, Vietnam is facing many difficulties in preserving its traditional music, as well as inspiring the love for traditional music among the youths. Can you share some of your experience with, the recovery and the nurturing of the love for traditional music in your own country?
The main aim of Cultus is to promote our Irish culture, so music, song, dance and the language. And nowadays it's quite common to go to a Gael school, which would be a school where Irish is spoken all day, and that in itself has helped to promote the Irish. And then the four of us are teachers, and in school we would teach music as well, and it's kind of promoted through that as well. And with different bands travelling all over the world as well, Irish music has reached a wider audience now as well. So I think that kind of helps to keep the tradition alive.
A lot of that popularity resurgence, I feel, has to come back to the cultus branches themselves and how music is taught within the branches. Music now, we'll say, and the musicians will let you know, music before would have been maybe taught one-on-one, and now the branches actually provide group tutoring, which I find is very effective in that it puts no single pressure on one student or one child alone. And students can come in, they might have maybe one or two tunes, but they're amongst their friends and they're enjoying it. And I think that's the most important thing about cultus and about music, is that the young people enjoy what they're doing. Because realistically, if they're not going to enjoy what they're doing, I don't think we'd have seen the resurgence that's there. And it's down to the likes of these musicians here who've gone in, taken groups on, a lot of the time their own spare free time, and teach the young people, and it's all down to that really.
At a systematic level, how has the study of traditional Irish music and culture been incorporated into education?
Well, in the Irish education, in the primary curriculum, every week primary school children, there's an allocation of 1 hour of musical tuition, even though in some schools they get more than that. And that's a requirement. And then it's up to individual schools, I suppose, how they allocate that time. Some schools maybe hire in a professional with, additional expertise, and it's actually very, very popular in Ireland as well for primary school teachers and secondary school teachers, as Mark is, to follow that career path. And there are a large number of primary school teachers are actually Irish musicians, singers, or dancers as well. It's an interesting kind of trend. But yeah, I suppose people who go into education often have a particular skill, and that they kind of want to share with children, and an expertise, so.
Cultus has also published programs for use in schools, which even if teachers don't play music themselves, they can use these programs. There's books and DVDs to teach the children, even though they mightn't play themselves. So children can still get a sense of our tradition as well.
It's a very useful resource, yeah.
During this trip to Vietnam, the Irish musicians also visited the Peace Village, which is both a home and educational institute for children and young people who are suffering from the effects of Agent Orange. They believe that music can heal and connect people of different backgrounds.
We weren't sure what to expect, but when we went into the room to visit all the children, it was really a really warming experience, because when we started to play music, to see how they react, they clapping their hands, tapping their feet, just like we do in Ireland as well, and really enjoying the music.
Although not speaking the same language, performing together brought the children and artists from far away closer together.
Em thích là cô đánh violon.
Cái nhạc của họ khác cái điệu của mình, và lại thấy hôm nay lại rất vui và lại hay nữa.
The children here also prepared 2 song and dance performances for the competitors to enjoy.
Âm nhạc trị liệu là cái phương pháp mà chúng tôi sử dụng để điều trị và phục hồi cho các trẻ về mặt trí tuệ. Việc các đoàn vũ công Ireland đến thăm giao lưu là một cái chương trình rất là phù hợp và rất có ý nghĩa, và các em rất phấn khởi, hồ hởi phấn khởi tham gia, rất là say mê.
Peace Village also provides vocational training to the children. The competitors had the chance to visit and experience what the children here learn every day. They have proven that differences in background are immaterial.
It's lovely to see that music, no matter what type of music and from what country you are, you can enjoy music, and it's like a universal language.
So you also shared a dance with the kids, with the disadvantaged kids at the Peace Village yesterday as well. What was it like?
Even though there's a language barrier there, the dancing just helped to bring us all together. You know, the minute the music started, we were able to begin dancing with the children in the Peace Village, and it just created such a bond in itself without even having the language there. And it was just great to see their faces light up when they came up to dance as well.
Yeah. And as we mentioned earlier as well, like, you know, Irish music is very, very inclusive, and it's about getting people involved. In all our performances so far in Vietnam here, you know, there's been some sort of kind of audience participation. We played in the at a very important reception with the Irish embassy for the Irish ambassador, Coach Moran. And you know, there was, at the end of the night, we had probably about 50 or 60 people dancing, some who had experience of Irish dancing and some who hadn't.
Yeah.
So it was great fun, really, like, you know. And it wasn't about doing it the right way, it was about doing it and enjoying it. Like.
So during that experience at the Peace Village, what were you impressed by the most?
I suppose the effect of music on people of, you know, of Vietnam, and they really responded very, very well to it and enjoyed it. And I presume for some of them they would never have heard our instruments before, seen our dancing, and heard the music either. So that, like, within that 30 minutes that we were there to perform for them, the kind of interaction, I suppose, that we had was really something special, like, you know.
It's great to see how our culture can make a connection with people that we don't know or we've never met before, you know. As soon as we started playing, the children in the Peace Village started clapping along. So immediately from the start, there was a connection there, which was really nice.
It's nice to get them to smile. It's nice to see them happy, and it's nice to see something simple like playing a tune, which is simple for us, and you dancing. They were just like, wow.
I suppose it's one of the simplest forms of communication, so it is.
Yeah,
to
without needing to talk.
Yeah.
There's no need to talk.
To be able to make somebody smile like that, I felt was a great privilege.
Your heart, yeah.
Yeah.
And they also did it for us. I mean, they performed for us, they sang a song for us, and they had a dance for us. And, like, I mean, that really stole... There was a couple of kids, like, that really steal your heart. Like, they really loved every bit of what they did.
Yeah. Did you know that behind these, you know, adorable characters, there's a story about Agent Orange Dykes and all that?
You've heard it.
What did you know about this prior to that trip?
Well, for myself, anyways, I'm not sure with the rest of you. We had actually studied it for history, for leaving cert examination, which is a higher level of examination in our schools. Quite frankly, when I was told, I was frightened. To be honest, that we were being brought into this kind of a situation. It wasn't what I expected. Being told that kind of a story, going in somewhere like that, you would naturally expect the worst. And I was relieved to see those children smile. And I was relieved that we could have brought them some bit of enjoyment, even if it was for only half an hour in the day, that they got some bit of enjoyment out of having us there. So for me, anyways, I really enjoyed the trip to the Peace Village yesterday.
Well, music is the cure to everything, though, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of music being the cure, music therapy is part of their curriculum. You guys are educators of music too.
Yeah.
How important do you think music is in teaching life skills to children in general and disadvantaged children as well?
It's very important. Like a number of skills are learned through music, you know. Especially with the Irish tradition, as Cian said earlier, we learn a lot by ear, so that in itself is a skill. You know, listening to other people playing and being able to play with other people as well is very important. But it's also very calming, you know, when you play you kind of relax as well. So in school, for example, it's kind of a nice break from strenuous work, you know, all the time. It's a different kind of work in itself.
I find when I go into the classrooms, a lot of the children will slam the books closed and they'll say, yes, here's Miss Walsh and her tin whistle. And it's a nice break from the maths, the you know, the literacy and everything. So, it is nice for all of them. We can do it as a group together, and they'll often say, do you know this tune? Can you teach us this tune? We heard this tune, and, you know, it is nice. It's a nice break, as Niamh said, just to have that, and it is calming for a lot of people.
It's important, you know,
it's
that
calming.
people relax as well.
Well, having said all that, a shame you guys can't stay here for longer, but if you had more time, or if you could come back later on to Vietnam, what would you like to do?
Well, unfortunately, I suppose this trip we're going to be playing a lot of music, and we've a lot of different events packed into a very, very short space of time. But it definitely has given us a great feel for the country. You know, meeting so many very, very kind Vietnamese people, we've really had a great chance to experience culture, the Vietnamese culture, and you know, it's something that we definitely would love to come back.
I suppose as well, having the opportunity to hear music from different regions in Vietnam as well, it'd be nice to take time to explore the regions as well that we didn't get to see this time.
We would love to, like, it's obviously a very beautiful country as well, like, and lots of people are saying, we'll have time to visit this place, and we're saying probably not on this trip, but you know, we'd love to come back and actually experience the beauty of the country as well, and the you know, the kind of, suppose, the really popular attractions that it has to offer as well.
Thank you for your great insights and your awesome tunes for today. Would you guys mind sending us off with another awesome piece of performance?
Yeah, sure.
No problem.
We'll give it one more go anyways.
Awesome. Thanks to our Irish friends, our show has concluded with quite a bang. Now, we hope that you enjoyed our little chat and the insights about preserving traditional music that our friends from Cultures gave us. Thank you for watching this edition of Talk Vietnam, and until next time.
Dum